Welcome to the Nevis Newscast. Today is Wednesday, 13th September 2017. I am Pamela Diaz. The Nevis Island Administration NIA held an emergency session of Cabinet on Monday, 11th September, with regards to the damage done to the neighboring islands which were affected by the passage of Hurricane Irma. Deputy Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, stated that the Cabinet has decided to send a small team to a few of the islands affected to personally assess the needs of the nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis living in the various islands.
We are aware that the French government, the British government, the Dutch government, and the U.S. government have mobilized their considerable resources. We are, however, concerned about our nationals who remain in these territories. As we know, a lot of Nevisians live in places like St. Martin and Anguilla and St. Thomas and Tortola. So we recognize that our people must be among those that are suffering at this time. Some have indicated an interest in coming home based on anecdotal reports that we've had, but we don't know what those numbers are. We have had no clear indication from our own people as to what's happening. Many of the networks have been down. As a consequence, the Cabinet decided that the best approach would be to send a small team into these islands to have a first-hand look and to engage with our own nationals there to find out what their needs were.
Honourable Brantley said that himself and Senior Minister in the NIA, the Honourable Alexis Jeffers, will be visiting Anguilla and St. Martin this coming Thursday, 14th September.
The Honourable Alexis Jeffers and I will be travelling to St. Martin and to Anguilla tomorrow, Thursday, and we will have a meeting in Anguilla first at around 10 a.m. and that meeting will be just at the gazebo area across from the former Caribbean Commercial Bank. If people are wondering why, it's because, of course, most of the meeting areas have been destroyed or damaged. So we're meeting actually out in the open. That's what we're told everybody else has been forced to do. And we are asking people to come out at around 10 a.m. tomorrow in Anguilla. We then fly to St. Martin. And in St. Martin, we also having a meeting at the parking lot in Cold Bay across from Carl and Sons Bakery.
The Deputy Premier said that the sole purpose of the visits are to get first-hand knowledge of the needs of the nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis living abroad.
The intent is that we get first-hand knowledge, a first-hand look, and first-person reports of what is necessary so that we can determine as a government the most effective and efficacious way to assist our nationals in those countries. This is not unusual. We have seen, of course, leaders traveling to these countries. President Macron of France has gone into St. Martin and St. Bart's to find out their needs. We've had the Dutch King, who we gather has visited St. Martin. We've had word that President Trump is to visit Florida and the USVI. And we've also, of course, heard that Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary, the UK Foreign Secretary, he should be going to the BVI and to Anguilla. So it is not unusual that governments will send people in to see about their nationals, and St. Kitts and Nevis cares about our nationals. We care about our people in these various islands, and it is our intention to do whatever we can to take care of the St. Kitts and Nevis nationals and others as well. But certainly our priority is the St. Kitts and Nevis nationals to do the best that we can to ensure the comfort, safety, and security of our people.
Meantime, the NIA's Nevis Disaster Management Department, NDMD, will send a shipment of relief items to Anguilla and St. Martin, who have been affected by last week's Category 5 Hurricane Irma. Director of the NDMD, Brian Dyer, explained that the items will be shipped via the MVC Hustler tomorrow.
I was informed by the Premier's Ministry that the MVC Hustler would be making a trip on Thursday this week. So persons who still have other relief supplies to send to the island of Anguilla and St. Martin, this is an ideal opportunity to assist the persons requiring assistance on those two islands. Additional items for the islands of Anguilla and St. Martin can be brought to the Nevis Disaster Management Department. We would secure those items until the container is ready for Thursday shipment.
That was Director of the NDMD, Brian Dyer. The The National Church organizations in St. Kitts and Nevis, in collaboration with the Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs, yesterday evening hosted a service of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving. The service was hosted at the Charlestown Methodist Church on Nevis and at the Wesleyan Methodist Church, Seaton Street in St. Kitts. The prayer session included prayers for the church, for social order, for the nation, and for the hurricane season. Conducting the scripture reading for the prayer for the nation was Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Vance Amry.
Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, to deliver their soul from death, and to keep them alive in famine. Our soul waiteth for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. For our heart shall rejoice in him, because we have trusted in his holy name. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon us, according as we hope in thee.
Acting Deputy Governor General for Nevis, Her Honor Mrs. Marjorie Morton, CSM, was also present at the event and read the scripture for the final prayers.
Blessed be the Lord, who hath not given us as a prey to their teeth. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken, and we are escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who made heaven and earth.
Also present at the event were Deputy Premier in the NIA, the Honorable Mark Brantley, Minister of Communications and Public Utilities in the NIA, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and Mrs. Vernie Amory. During an appearance on the People's Voice radio program on Monday, Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris said the federal government took several decisions to facilitate support to other islands affected by Hurricane Irma, which made its way through the Caribbean region last week. The Prime Minister said, as we speak, we are attempting to mobilize our Coast Guard that is being sheltered in St. Lucia to move up to Antigua, taking well-needed supplies there to Antigua, and then coming to St. Kitts, bringing some supplies that would be helpful for us in our efforts to restore the electricity and deal with some of the damages to our water systems. Prime Minister Harris disclosed that his government's response to the needs of the affected islands extends further than the supply of essential supplies, as the government has also made available the hospitals in case there are instances which require treatment and that treatment could not be had in any of the member states that have been affected by Hurricane Irma. The airport will also be offered as a staging platform for relief efforts in St. Bart's, St. Eustatius, French St. Martin, Saba, and Dutch St. Martin. We are happy to be able to do this. Not that we are a rich and powerful country, we are not. But we understand that in times like these, and indeed at all times, St. Kitts and Nevis must be its brother's keeper, Prime Minister Harris stated. Earlier today, the Prime Minister led a delegation to Anguilla, which included the Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, Mr. Timothy Antoine, and Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd. Still to come, introduction of Mandarin to schools on Nevis discussed during Deputy Minister's trip to Taiwan. The details when we return.
The Premier's Ministry cordially invites the general public to a ceremonial parade to commemorate the 34th anniversary of independence of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. The parade will be held at the El Cemido T. Willett Park on Tuesday, 19th September 2017 at 8 a.m.
Come celebrate St. Kitts and Nevis's 34 years of independence from September 1st to September 30th. Youth, vision, integrity, securing our nation's prosperity.
Welcome back. Minister of Foreign Affairs in the federal government and Deputy Premier in the NIA, the Honorable Mark Brantley, led a delegation to Taiwan last week, where the focus of the trip was on improving and strengthening ties in education, healthcare, and agriculture sectors. The Deputy Premier on Nevis stated that during his trip, the possibility of introducing Mandarin to the schools on Nevis was discussed.
We feel that Mandarin will be a major language for the future in terms of trade and commerce, and we feel that our people should be familiar with that language and should be able to communicate with others using Mandarin. We hope by the next year to be able to have Mandarin being taught in our schools, particularly our primary schools, where it is said that students and our children are most susceptible, they're most capable of learning new things. And so we want that language introduced.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs led a delegation which included Minister of Agriculture in the NIA, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Kevin Barrett, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Nicole Slack-Liburd, Minister of Health and Agriculture in the federal government, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, and his wife, Mrs. Hamilton. The Nevis Historical and Conservation Society, NHCS, will host the annual Nevis Coastal Cleanup on Saturday, 23rd September, from 7 a.m. to noon at various locations throughout the island. Museum attendant at the Alexander Hamilton Museum and membership coordinator for the Nevis Coastal Cleanup, Tricia Griffin, provided some background on the event.
Nevis is a tourist destination. And with tourism being our main industry, we must endeavor to keep our beaches clean. That's why the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society partnered with enlisted with the International Coastal Cleanup Campaign. Last day alone, 300 volunteers, local volunteers, participated in this campaign here on Nevis, and among them were many young people, including children. They joined millions worldwide who are committed to keeping their beaches clean. Our campaign is very unique in that we collect and record data on the various trash collected.
She also clarified that all supplies will be provided by the organization, and persons who register early will be afforded the opportunity to select their location.
When you register early, you get the preference of choosing the beach and which group that you want to work with. We encourage persons to sign up as groups or as individual. If you come as an individual and you do not have a particular group that you are a part of, we can assign you to one of the early groups that have already registered.
Griffin explained that after the passing of Hurricane Irma, debris and garbage has washed up onto the shorelines on Nevis, and as such, she invited persons to the event.
Again, I want to invite the general public out to our annual coastal cleanup, which will be next Saturday, the 23rd of September 2017, and the deadline for registration is the 20th of September.
The coastal cleanup will conclude at Coconut Grove Restaurant and Wine Lounge, where the participants will receive complimentary lunch for their participation. The annual International Coastal Cleanup has been in existence for over 32 years. However, Nevis is celebrating a milestone anniversary of 25 years of participation. That's it for this edition of the Nevis Newscast. On behalf of all of us here at the Department of Information, I am Pamela Diaz. Thank you for viewing.